Every once in a while, you meet someone who's not just building a company, they're trying to fix a system. Today's guest is Jonathan Maynard, the co founder of Knowlify, an AI powered platform that's changing the way students study, learn, and retain knowledge. You see, for years, students have been told just study harder, read more, memorize better. But nobody talks about how broken the system actually is. Jonathan's journey started first when he realized that studying isn't just about hard work, it's about how your brain works. In this episode, we get real about how AI and cognitive science can unlock peak learning, why most students struggle with memorization, and how Notify is helping students study smarter, not harder. If you're a student, an entrepreneur, or simply someone who wants to level their ability to learn, this episode is for you. Let's get into it.
Hey, my name is Jonathan Maynard. I'm one of the co-founders of Knowlify. Knowlify is a platform and an API where you can convert any input or material into Khan Academy style explainer videos using AI. And we just got accepted into the Y Combinator 2025 summer batch.
Okay, and I want to understand what inspired you to start Notify in the first place.
hmm Yeah, there's a lot of reasons behind it. I mean, the most like the personal one is basically my friends and I were taking a graduate level statistics class specifically to our problem. Khan Academy didn't really have the videos that we were looking for, like catered to that subject. And the YouTube videos, we were spending such a long time looking for the YouTube videos. And we just realized like, oh, this would be really great if there's just a tool where it generate video for you like that. The deeper thing too is edtech has been really stagnant in the past couple of years. Everyone, there's the AI flashcards and AI quizzes, and those all came along. And then that was a couple of years ago, and nothing's really changed. And we think and believe that the next huge monumental change in edtech will be the AI generated videos.
Hmm. And so you said you started this out of because of a statistics class. And can I ask, like, what university do you attend, or what university was that statistics class in?
Yeah, so for reference, all my co-founders go to University of Florida, including myself. And when this happened, we were all sophomores.
Hmm.
So we were sophomores, and like we actually just ended our sophomore year.
Hmm.
Now we're going full time in Nullify in the summer. But
Hmm.
yeah, so University of Florida.
Okay, and you said you got accepted into the Y Combinator. So can you just explain what it is?
Yeah, Y Combinator is a startup accelerator. They're best known for like they have a lot of prestige around them, mainly because of the companies that came out of them, such as Airbnb, Instacart, Stripe, Coinbase, Twitch. Like I can keep going on and on, but that's essentially what Y Combinator is. And they fund your startup and they give you resources to help your company succeed.
Hmm. Yeah, and are you right now at San Francisco? Because that's usually where the startup scene is.
Yeah, we're out in San Francisco. We actually moved out here before we even knew we got into Y Combinator. We were pretty dedicated to
Hmm.
Nullify ahead of time.
Hmm. And how's San Francisco? How's the scene out there?
Pretty it's different, compared to Florida. I've never really been to California, so compared to Florida, it's a lot different. But overall, I really like it. The energy here is a lot different. Energy is a funny word,
Hmm.
it means something different to everyone. But overall, a lot of startups, a lot of tech scene out here, and everyone's really hustling. So I
Hmm.
like it. It's really great.
And since you're an edtech, and I personally worked in an edtech before, especially in AI and AI edtech, what is unique about Notify?
I think there's a number of things unique about Nullify. I mean, number one, we have the instant video generation, right? So we can create videos in 15 seconds. That's the fastest time of any company. Like from our knowledge, the next closest competitor generates videos like 6 times slower,
Hmm.
like 90 seconds. And on top of this too, we're only focusing on video generation and specifically B2B. A lot of people, whenever they do this video generation stuff, they use it for their own platform to
Hmm.
build out their own platform, but we're exclusively focused on
Hmm.
B2B.
Hmm. So how do you ensure that Notify doesn't just generate summaries, but actually helps students retain and recall? Because I think when I was doing my research about Notify, I had heard that you guys kind of said that some of the testimonies were saying like it increases your GPA by 1.2 or something like that. So how do you ensure that?
Yeah, so like we don't actually say we increase GPAs by that. There are basically studies that say that in general, compared like when text is compared to video, like users retain around 85% more with video.
Hmm.
And those like in the increase in retention generally correlates to higher GPA. the
mm,
higher GPA correlates to a higher like
mm,
starting salary when they enter the workforce.
mm. Okay. And do you know about the AI in the Knowlify? So could you like kind of walk me through that, like in simple terms, for someone who might not be as technical as me?
Hmm. Yeah, so I can't go super in depth with it because we're patent pending, but on a high level, so we utilize a open source like graphics library, and basically we've heavily modified this for our own needs. And now we're exploring other like we're exploring other ways of generating graphics, such as diffusion models and whatnot.
Mm,
But basically, we take this open source library and we pass it through our like fine tune. Like we have a couple of LLMs that we fine tuned really well
mm,
to cater towards edtech. And then basically, if you think of it as a puzzle piece, basically the way we get the videos to render so fast is
mm,
we generate several pieces of the video at this
mm,
time in parallel, and then we kind of like bring them, stitch them together at the end using some agents.
mm,
And then we do a couple little hacky things to
mm,
get the video.
mm. Yeah. Okay. And so, and right now in your competition, like companies like Quizlet, Notion, and Anki, where do you feel they fall short? Like what is something they lack in, and where Nullify fills the gap in?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, number one, kind of time back to what I was saying earlier, a lot of these companies have been stagnant the past couple of years.
Mm,
And, these are huge companies that are listing up, Quizlet, Anki, and whatnot.
mm,
And we're like looking to partner with companies just like them. But really, though, I'd say that they're not moving along with the current trend
mm,
of, users and technology in general. Especially with like TikTok, stuff like
mm,
that. People have short attention spans. People prefer those short form videos
mm,
and like not reading a whole block of text, right? So people
mm,
prefer the videos, and I just see that's the
mm.
direction the industry's moving in.
And who's your target market? Is it just students, high school students, and college students right now?
Yeah, currently it's students. So we're starting off with edtech, and then we're going to be using that to pivot into the corporate world for learning. But yeah, currently it's students,
Mm,
mainly the high school and college students. Although it really does work for pretty much any level because the video caters to your level
mm.
first
Okay.
place.
And what's been the hardest part about scaling Nullify so far?
It's a good question. Let me think. First thing has been so we started this really in January, like going at it full time, and or as much as we could full time during school year. And during the we had to build out a whole array of features for our clients because
Mm,
every single time we worked with a client, they wanted some new
mm,
feature that we hadn't developed yet.
mm,
So now it's a lot better because we've developed a lot of features. But in the beginning, it was just hammering out those features and delivering it during college, when we're doing finals or midterms or whatever it
mm,
was. So I'd say that was probably the hardest part scaling it. And then
mm,
now we're at a point where we're trying to add as much value to the videos as possible in one way or another. So that's our new pain scale.
mm. What has most surprised you about your user base? Because you're saying your user base is mostly students, right? So what has most surprised you about them?
So when we initially launched Knowlify, we had in mind LiveGen. So LiveGen is where you create the videos on spot. We offer another video service called pre-rendered. Basically, those are higher quality videos. They take 2 or 3 minutes to generate, and
Mm,
those videos, on average, like they're really used for pre-existing material, right?
mm,
So, like, say for instance, you have a blog and you want to put like embedded video
mm,
bottom based on you use pre-rendered. And we thought LiveGen would be super cool because it was
mm,
new to the space, is novel,
mm,
and it was exactly what we were looking for. Like upload homework problem, get explanation how to solve it.
mm,
But most companies we're partnering with actually prefer the pre-rendered videos,
mm,
and it makes sense on paper because there's a much the LiveGen is quite niche, and the pre-rendered, there's a much higher ROI, like substantial ROI, and we're cutting down cost by 90%. We're turning down days of animation down to like 2 minutes. It makes complete sense as to why they're doing better. But
mm.
that completely shocked.
Okay. And so you said the hardest part is practically right now being a student, right? You're a student, but right now you're out of school and it's summer vacation. So you're in San Francisco, and what's the best part of being in San Francisco right now? Is it about the connections you can make?
Definitely the connections, yeah. Yeah, I'd say overall it's the connections and then our, being out here like solely just to focus on growing Nullify and
Mm,
dedicating all of our time to it.
mm,
Back home it's nice being with family, friends, and everything, but um, out here like there's no excuse to not work on things
mm,
and to get things done. There's no family obligations or friends
mm,
obligations. We're fully locked in on this. I'd say that and the connections overall.
mm. Okay. And so right now you're saying your family and more no family obligations. So if let's say I'm an entrepreneur who wants to start a business, what advice would you
Mhm.
give to them based on like obligations? Like if I'm a student entrepreneur, let's say that, what advice would you give to them?
Well, entrepreneur in a general sense, like so anything outside of tech too. Say I'd say in general, just get real with what you want. Like understand what you want.
Mm,
Um, don't really care about other people's judgments or opinions. Like unless like you want to live their life or
mm,
like they have like the kind of business you want to go after, something like that. Ignore people's advice that doesn't really pertain to you, and then
mm,
just I'm kind of quoting Alex Ramosi here, but it's like do so much volume to um like luck isn't a feature like an attribute anymore, right? Like just basically volume negates luck. So just put so much
mm,
volume, it'd be unreasonable to not succeed, basically.
mm. That's good. That's good advice. And how do you stay motivated during these hard days as a founder?
Yeah, it's really easy for us right now to stay motivated because we're seeing a lot of growth. We found a Y Combinator. There's so many things on our plate that it's like pain and it's like hard things, but they're like good things.
Mm,
They're growing pains.
mm,
But in general, though, in those lower times when we didn't have that and like, we were unsure about where this is going, I'd say, me honestly, I was just always really delusional about it. Like I knew that it was gonna work. Like I knew it was gonna work. I just had a feeling deep down.
mm,
Because it just made sense. That's the direction the industry is going in. But I say overall, it's just the vision of like where I wanted my life to go and how I wanted things to be. So in a practical sense, I'd say the vision I had for myself and for the future.
mm. Yeah. And so could you walk me through your day in the life as a student entrepreneur?
Yeah. So now that we're out in San Francisco and we're working full time, it's actually quite simple. So we wake up in the morning, like usually like 7, because sometimes we have to take calls because some of the calls are international.
Mm,
And then we get to the office around 9, and
mm,
then we literally just work from 9 to like 10 or like 11 p.m. And then around like 5 or 6, I'll go work out at the gym
mm,
for like an hour. It's pretty simple.
mm,
And I try to keep my as much of my day dedicated to Nullify as possible. So, because before I used to do boxing, MMA, I dropped
mm,
all that.
mm. Okay.
Hmm.
And now a bit more, I want to learn a bit more about your field, AI, obviously, and education. So where do you see AI-based education going in the next 3 to 5 years?
I see it going towards more individualized and personalized learning, and
Mm,
I see it going more towards videos as well.
mm,
So basically, incorporating the AI avatars,
mm,
basically doing what we're doing, and also including the AI
mm,
avatars, and just keeping like like the full immersion of it. So you're like you can speak to your avatar, they can see you, they can see what you're writing down. Basically, just
mm,
more immersive learning and one-on-one.
mm.
That's why I see it going.
Yeah. Okay. And I know this might sound like a bit like more of like a competitor kind of thing, but other than Knowlify, what are the AI services would you recommend to students, let's say a high schooler, to use? Let's say other than with Knowlify included, what are some other ones you would recommend a student to use?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna shout out some of our companies, but one of them is Note, KNOWT. They're a pretty awesome platform, especially if you're in high school. If you're in high school taking AP classes, use Note. They have a whole range of like array of
Yeah.
tools to use to learn it. But beyond that, if you use ChatGPT in like a responsible way, it can be a really good way of learning. But with
Mm,
ChatGPT, it's very easy to cheat.
mm,
And there's other great resources out there. Khan Academy can be good to an extent, but in the Anki's, like I've heard, is really good for
mm,
pre-med and whatnot. But yeah, really in general, just give me any tool that can teach you one-on-one and will give you feedback. Because like the shorter the feedback loop, the quicker you can learn. So
mm.
ChatGPT, Knowlify, no.
And now as people use AI like in every day of their lives,
Hmm.
and like I'm a high school student, and I've been using ChatGPT. I'm gonna be honest, I've been using ChatGPT for the entire year, probably
Yeah,
since freshman year of high school. And
yeah.
the main thing right now I see is that students use ChatGPT to cheat. Like that's the main thing. And how do you think AI companies could solve that, or how do you think Knowlify could help bridge that gap so students can use AI in a responsible way and also not cheat?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways we can get around this and like figure this out. There's actually platforms that are coming out and that we're partnering with that
Mm-hmm.
directly, solve this solution. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's really nothing stopping, like, even if you went on one of these websites or you're using Nullify, watching a video and you're trying to understand it, like how do you solve something, right?
Yeah.
Um, like at the end of the day, like if you don't have like the patience to sit there and just like actually try learning it, like ChatGPT is always the next tab over, right? Like same thing with these other platforms where even though they'll use AI, like like the AI will give you hints and like guide you through the problem. If you don't have the willingness to sit down and try and learn it yourself, it's never gonna work. But
Mm-hmm.
really though, it's more so about integrating AI into the learning process. So like having them like providing the student hints and having the AI like dynamically look at what the student's strengths and weaknesses and what their actual work is in that moment. Be like, oh, you should be doing this, or like, oh, you can improve it in this way. Basic little things like that.
Have you heard about Khan Academy's AI at the Khan Migo?
The what's it called?
The Khan Academy's AI. Have you heard about that?
Truthfully, no. I'm kind of
Yeah, it's
scratching
actually
right
pretty. It's like exactly the way you described it. Khan Academy definitely executed perfectly. It's exactly the way you described it. Like they're not going to give it. It's not going to give you the answer instantly. It's going to walk you through it. Say,
now. Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, based on that, that makes complete sense. I mean, because that's the way education is really going to head, and with platforms, it'll be in schools, like actual schools and
mhm,
universities, decide to integrate AI, because they're stingy about it with with
mhm,
cheating and whatnot. But and also too, most teachers and professors are resistant to
mhm,
taking on these AI tools because they're a direct threat to their job. So
mhm,
that'll be interesting to see. But with the edtech platforms, that makes complete sense that they're
mhm.
doing stuff like
Okay, and this is a bit vague, but do you think AI could fully replace a teacher?
that. Yeah, honestly, yeah. I think so. Don't I feel like the way there's a couple different ways like teachers could stay in place. I feel like the main one would be like the actual human to human interaction and like
Mhm,
having that whole like emotional spectrum to it.
yeah.
Like in person though, like that'd be very much in person.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
I
in
mean, I
general,
feel like I learned sometimes better with ChatGPT than some of my math teachers at school.
yeah, yeah, and that's how most people feel. Because I've heard an array of different things, right? Like some
Mhm,
people are just afraid to ask the question because they're afraid of being judged by their teacher. They feel that their teacher, they have a hard time understanding their teacher. Their teacher
mhm.
doesn't do good job of teaching. Like there's a whole plethora of things, and AI solves a lot of these issues.
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, I think the whole education industry from the teaching standpoint will definitely change.
yeah. I mean, sometimes AI is sometimes nicer than some of the teachers at school. So I definitely like for some classes, like if there's a teacher I don't want to go to their class. Sometimes I don't even pay attention. Come home, use AI, and learn more than I learned in their class. So I mean, that's
Yeah,
really good then. Yeah. So,
yeah, I totally agree.
and what concerns you about AI and education mostly? Is it the cheating?
Can you repeat the question? It kind
Yeah.
of lagged out.
Yeah. Sorry. What concerns you about AI and education? Is it about the cheating scandals, like all those things?
Yeah, I'd say overall it's the abuse of AI and people not really learning what they
Mm,
need to do. Um, I think this is an issue society will kind of figure out with time.
mm.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Dumb and Dumber, or not Dumb and
Oh,
Dumber,
I heard.
Idiocracy. Have
Yeah.
you seen
Yeah.
Idiocracy at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people hypothesize with the advent of AI, law, society will head in that
Mm,
direction.
mm,
I think I think in general people will become smarter and like more intelligent with AI and like will overall just become more productive humans. But the threat of like people not actually knowing what they're doing is
mm,
quite high as well. So
mm,
I think in general we'll have to see how like policy on AI and all that takes place
mm,
and
mm. And what do you think is the biggest positive about AI in education?
oh definitely so there's a couple things. Number one, I think the one-on-one personalized feedback is incredibly important. for a variety of reasons. Number one, in real life, you get a tutor, they can be quite expensive, and you still
Mm,
have like the fear of judgment from them, or like the
mm,
fear of incompetency. Even though
mm,
usually when you go to tutor, like they get stuff right, and the AI will sometimes mess up too.
mm,
But really though, it's with the one-on-one personalized learning with
mm,
AI, it's more so
mm,
the reduction of the feedback loop, right? So like
mm,
you get something wrong, AI instantly tells you, oh, you did this wrong, this is how you fix it.
mm,
And like that overall just improves the whole learning process and speeds it up.
mm,
So therefore you're like not spending as much time learning and the pain's a
mm,
lot less.
mm.
But I'd say yeah, one-on-one personalized is the biggest thing with AI.
Yeah. And the biggest buzzword right now is personalized learning, like you've been saying the entire time. And how does Knowlify
Hmm.
personalize that?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways we personalize it. I mean, on a B2B level, so company level,
Mm,
we can tailor in themes or like accents, languages,
mm,
captions, accessibility features, a whole plethora of different ways.
mm,
And we can curate videos too, so it's more text heavy, it's
mm,
more visual heavy. But
mm,
from an end user standpoint on like the actual user, like the student or whoever's using it, um, it can really just tailor to your strengths and weaknesses. And you just fully give them all the information. Like, hey, I know a lot about this. I know a little bit about this. I usually struggle with this. And can you just explain this to me as if I was five and just make it like really visually heavy because I learned best
mm,
from visuals, right? You just pass all that in and our
mm,
will generate the
mm,
so I'd say that's like a big strength of the whole
mm,
personalized thing. It's completely tailored to how you like to
mm.
learn so you can learn best.
Okay. And so you were talking about prompts, right? So how do you build a perfect prompt, would you say, for if I'm going to ask Nullify, for example, how do I build a perfect prompt? How would you say that?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I'd say in general, as our models get better, like you can be more and more vague. And obviously with usage too, like the model will learn,
Mm,
what you actually mean when you're vague with things, or like it'll learn your patterns the way you prefer.
mm,
But in general, it's just kind of being specific with what you want. Like, hey, I'm struggling in math. Or like I'm okay with math and
mm,
calculus. Okay, okay, I'm okay with like deriving in calculus one, but
mm,
really uncomfortable with sine and cosine, and I could use some help with this. So if you could just like explicitly write out the steps for
mm,
sine and cosine when you're deriving, and then if you could also like show some visuals, that'd be really cool.
mm,
Like literally something like that, something super casual. It
mm,
can create a video. The perfect prompt is just being specific with your needs.
mm. Okay. And a bit more about the AI aspect. So in AI right now, there's a lot of inaccuracies. Like I asked ChatGPT the other day, like give me the population of China. It told me 100 million people, and then I said, obviously not right. How does Notify
Mhm.
help balance that to make it accurate? Obviously, when pulling information online.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. So number one, like it was mentioning earlier, we have like a couple of fine-tuned models that we run our stuff through, and this is actually like, done with like data of like millions of students and just like actual edtech material in general.
Mm,
So that really has helped like refine our product and reduce
mm,
hallucinations. Something I like to
mm,
bring up though with this, and I always think it's funny because people often rebuttal against it, but
mm,
humans hallucinate all the time. Like
mm,
we get stuff wrong all the time, and we
yeah.
act like it's like this huge ordeal when AI does it. But like if I had to argue, in general, like humans get it wrong more often. I mean, I could
Mm,
pull up examples of like specific to like doctors and AI, but that's it's a little unnecessary. But like,
mm,
yeah, I always think it's kind of funny.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, whenever an AI messes up, it's like a big deal. But whenever a human does, it's like, oh, it's all right.
yeah, yeah. Really, it's just
Yeah.
kind of funny, and it'll get better with time too. That's what
Mm,
people don't understand. AI, and like truthfully, if you can even call this AI, um, because in my opinion, AI hasn't like fully come yet.
mm.
But it'll be interesting when all that shows up.
Okay. And how do you, and since we're talking of information, how do you ever worry about AI generated misinformation slipping out into the educational content? Like, so how do you prevent that practically, misinformation coming to education?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely something we worry about, and we really optimize our videos to not have that happen.
Mm,
Inevitably, it's going to happen,
mm,
with AI and all that. And like I was saying, so we have our fine-tuned models, and we're constantly training
mm,
those. And then more importantly, when we have these videos, we're actually implementing a new feedback loop and like a new
mm,
system. So basically, if if our AI doesn't catch any errors, then a user can be like, hey, this is wrong. And then it'll go send it back to our system and it'll improve it and whatnot. So basically it's just both human iterative feedback and then like
Mm,
AI feedback as well.
yeah.
And like training your model.
Mm, okay.
Hmm.
And again, a big question here. If you had unlimited resources, how would you redesign high school or college using AI? It's a bit of a big question, so you can answer it any way you want.
Can you repeat the question? You're lagging again.
Okay, all right. If you had unlimited resources, so meaning money wise, nothing wasn't a constraint, how
Yeah.
would you redesign high school or college using AI?
Using AI.
Yeah, you can answer it any way you want. It's a bit more of a vague question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, I guess a good thought process to it is like, okay, so the purpose of college, and like, let's just take college example.
Mm,
The purpose of college is to get a certification that, or a piece of paper that says you're competent is one thing.
mm,
But what does that actually entail? That entails you having to take exams with a teacher, and this teacher teaching a material
mm,
to a whole group of class.
mm,
So with the advent of AI, like where AI would really come in with that is removing the teacher classroom component and having teaching you one on one.
mm,
So so basically what I see happening now it'll be interesting because professors are gonna be really resistant to it, but in a hypothetical world,
mm,
basically AI would either A supplement the professor and like what they're teaching in class, because some people prefer the human component,
mm,
or B, it would just completely replace most professors.
mm,
And you can make an argument now that's kind of what happened. You were talking about earlier how you just ignore your teacher and go home and do ChatGPT. And I do that for some of my teachers as well.
mm,
So you can argue it's already happening, but in
mm,
general, I see it just replacing the actual learning component of it.
mm. Yeah, definitely making learning more personalized. That's the best way because everyone's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on personalized learning, what is the biggest flaw in it? What do you say? Because we all talk about the positives about it. Is there any flaw to that?
Can you repeat the question? You're lagging
Yeah,
again.
I don't know what's going on today. Oh, okay. All right. So I was talking about personalized learning because we were just talking about that. So what's the biggest flaw in personalized learning? Because we talk all about the positives about it, but there's definitely got to be some flaws in it, right? So could you point out some flaws? What do you say?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest con with personalized learning is that personalized learning. Oh, it's a good question. The
Mm,
fall of personalized learning.
mm,
I mean, I guess I guess you can make an argument that always having learning catered towards your preferred way of learning
mm,
could hurt other ways, like the other ways you would naturally develop. So like it make it harder. Like for instance, if you're always a visual learner, right, and
mm,
you always or like need visuals
mm,
to understand something, like it's gonna be kind of bad when you're only auditorily told something. Like someone gives you directions on how to do something, like that could be bad
mm,
from that point of view.
mm.
But I think in general, like personalized learning is overall pretty beneficial. I think it's gonna be the way.
Even I feel the same thing. Like personalized learning is definitely the way to go in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the classroom, do you think classrooms, like you said, teachers are eventually going to be slowly put aside? Do you think about a hybrid solution instead, like AI and a teacher?
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen first, because they're not just going to like flat out replace all teachers and all professors with AI. I
Mm,
think that's what's going to start happening. We're already partnering up with university as is to develop a course,
mm,
and I think it'll just get more and more integrated in. So basically, I think it'll still be the same format of where students go to class and they learn from a
mm,
professor and they get like a human touch, and then outside of that they'll have like a AI professors, like it looks just like the
mm.
professor or whatever, it'll like guide them through their homework. I think we're already seeing this today. I think in the next like 5 to 10 years it'll just be done on a mass scale or like a more
Mm.
public scale where it's like more socially acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I would love to see an AI professor in the future who could answer my questions late at night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I want to just be a little bit fun because we have like a few more minutes left. So I'm going to ask you some fun questions. Who's a favorite founder you look up to?
A good one. I'd say Brett Adcock. Brett Adcock for a few different reasons. I mean, number one, like he actually came from UF, which is pretty interesting.
Mm,
But further than that, though, just his overall entrepreneurial journey is really interesting. He started off with his networking company. I forget what it's called, but it's for like job search basically.
mm,
And then that got bought out, and then he started an aviation company, and then that's worth multiple billions of dollars, and they've IPO'd and all
mm,
that. And then now he took all his knowledge from all that and then just went straight into, figure developing like the next generation of robots
mm,
and humanoids specifically leading it. I just
mm,
think it's really motivational because every single time there's a huge risk involved and you always have to learn a ton and kind of like say like F off to the haters and just,
mm,
he did whatever he thought
mm,
was the best. And I just
mm.
find that really inspirational.
What about one business book or a podcast you recommend to every entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur?
Hmm. Before I answer that question, going back to the other one too, I know you're saying one founder, but I want to add in someone else. Another one
Mm,
is Alex Becker. So basically, he has like a YouTube channel where he like semi-documented the whole process,
mm,
and basically he started off the journey by saying, "I'm going to grow my company to 9 figures,"
mm,
and within 2 years, he grew his company Hyros from. That was also really inspirational because he shared his like thoughts and his mindsets and mind
mm.
frames along the way, and that was really inspirational. Now, going back to your question about the book and podcast. Check out yours is pretty cool. You're bring all these new
Mm.
business people, but on a deeper level than that, I think Alex Hormozi's pod really value the podcast where he talks about um basically mental stop. Should I keep talking?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Hopefully. All right. Could you just continue on? I think I just got cut out because of my
Yeah,
Wi-Fi.
cool. Yes, I recommend Alex Hormozi's podcast, and then book wise, truthfully, I haven't read many business books.
Mm,
I am reading a book right now, Peter Thiel's
mm,
Zero to One book.
mm,
That one has been pretty interesting so far. So I
mm.
guess I'd recommend that one.
Okay. And if Knowlify had a billboard in Times Square, what would it say?
Better. So it's pretty simple, nothing crazy.
Mm.
Or actually,
Okay.
we're going to take a more edgier approach.
Mm,
It could be something along the lines of like we're changing the future of education, doing this or like F school, like
mm,
they're gonna nullify or something edgy. I don't know.
mm,
Honestly, I haven't given much thought to it. That's the fun stuff. Yeah.
mm. All right. I mean, thank you for your time, Jonathan. I definitely learned a lot about AI and education today. So, and to close it off, to finish it, what is some advice would you give to a young entrepreneur?
It'd be the advice I was saying earlier. And it's kind of like paraphrasing what Alex Shimozu was saying, but basically just figure out what you want and then, fully go after it. Ignore other people's opinions that don't matter. And then just, like I said earlier, do so much volume to the point where it'd be unreasonable to not succeed.
All right, that's good advice. Thank you, Alex. I mean, Jonathan. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
thanks
had
for having me.
Alex
This was
frozen in
great.
my mind.
No, we're all good. Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
good doing this though. Thanks for having me on. Yeah.
yeah. All right.